If you're thinking about moving to Orlando in 2026, you've probably seen mixed information about the cost of living here. Some say it's affordable, but others say it's really gotten out of hand, too expensive. So today I'm going to break down the real numbers: housing, insurance, groceries, utilities, and what it actually costs to live here in Orlando today in 2026. And honestly, some of these numbers might surprise you. Hi, I'm David, a local real estate broker and real estate attorney here in the Orlando area. I help people relocate to Central Florida all the time. And one of the biggest questions I get is, how much does it actually cost to live in Orlando? So let's break it down. Let's start with the biggest expense, okay? Housing, right? Median home prices in the Orlando metro area run from about $385,000 to $420,000. Obviously, a big difference depending on what part of town you're looking at. But new construction in areas like Horizon West, Windermere, Winter Garden, the Southwest corridor, those usually start at about $500,000 and go up to over $700,000 typically. Now, if you look at your luxury properties like in Windermere, Dr. Phillips, those are running, or actually they're starting out at about $800,000 to over a couple $1,000,000. So let's look at monthly payment examples. For a $400,000 home, if you put down, say, 5 to 10% of that, and the interest rates in the high sixes, let's say 6.5 to 7%, your estimated payment is going to be about $2,600 to $3,100 per month, all in: principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Now, here's where Orlando gets tricky. Home insurance. Right now, we're seeing it running from about $2,500 to $5,000 a year. It's going up quickly, and it has for the last few years. And if you're in an area designated as a flood zone, then you're required to have flood insurance. And that's another $800 to $2,000 per year. That's one of the biggest hidden costs that people don't expect. So when you go to close on your property, one of the things that your lender's going to do is do a flood search, and they're going to determine whether you are in a flood zone and need that flood insurance. Now, a lot of people today are renting, and if you are renting, here's what you're looking at. One bedroom apartments run from about $1,700 to $2,100 right now. Two bedroom apartments are running from about $2,100 to about $2,800 a month. And if you're looking for a single family home to rent, which is becoming more and more common here, you're looking at anywhere between $2,400 and $3,500 per month. So rents really have stabilized a bit after the last few years of going up, but they're still a lot higher than they were just a few years ago. Now, let's take a look at utilities. Utilities in Orlando, I think they're pretty reasonable compared to the national average, but AC is the big factor, obviously. Everybody uses air conditioning probably 10 months out of the year. Typical electric bills for your average house is between $150 and $300. Water bills, which usually sometimes will also include gas, trash pickup, sewage, and so on. That water bills typically run between $50 and $120 per month. If you've got a pool, fountains, and so on, or you run your sprinklers all the time, then obviously it gets a little bit higher. Internet, we pay here about $60 to $75 a month. Now, in the summer, as I said, your electric bill will spike just because the heat and the extra the pool water, everything else. So that's just life in Florida. Now let's talk about groceries. For groceries, Orlando statistically is pretty close to the national average. Not too high, not too low. Single person, we see, pays an average of $300 to $500 per month just for the groceries. Whereas a family of four, we see are paying somewhere between $800 and $1,200 per month. So where you shop matters. Publix grocery stores are everywhere. They're convenient. And they're my favorite, but they are a little expensive. We've got a lot of Aldi's and Walmarts as well, and these actually save you a lot of money. So now let's talk about transportation. Orlando is what I call a driving city. You'll need a car. We don't have a massive bus system, trains, anything of that sort. So gas in Orlando right now is about $3.20 to $3.80 per gallon. And it was just under $3 for several months before January of 2026. But now we're seeing mid $3. Car insurance runs from approximately $150 to $300 a month for nicer cars. Toll roads, which we have several around, will run you $50 to $80 a month, depending on how much you use them. If you're like me, you use them just every once in a while, I might spend $5-10 on toll roads, and that's a choice you can make. There's always alternatives. But tolls are another hidden cost that a lot of people don't figure in. If you're working in one area, say downtown, and you're living way out in Claremont or Winter Garden, you might be taking that toll road to work. So consider that. Now let's talk about health and taxes. Florida has a really big advantage here because we have no state income taxes. I'm going to say that again. No state income taxes for individuals. But health insurance for a family can get a little expensive. On the cheap side, it might be $400, but typically you're paying out closer to $1,000 or $1,200, depending on your plan. So while you save on taxes, insurance costs can offset that a bit. So really, let's look at the total monthly cost. I mean, if we put it all together for a realistic monthly budget, I think a family of four who's got housing of $2,800, utilities of $300, groceries of $1,000, transportation $500, maybe insurance, health benefits of about $500. That family of 3 to 4 is paying between $5,200 and $6,000 per month. Now, if you're single, that's probably going to go down to between $2,800 and $4,000 per month. Obviously, guys, there's big differences depending on what part of town you're living in and what your lifestyle is. But these are just kind of averages to compare. So let me give you my honest pros and cons. The pros, well, we have no state income tax for individuals. I mean, nothing can be better than that. We have an incredibly strong job growth here in Central Florida. And the lifestyle and weather in Orlando, I think, is fantastic. It can't be beat. But the cons, the insurance costs are still rising. And insurance, I'm going to include both homeowners insurance for your houses as well as your health care policies. They're both going up. Home prices now are no longer cheap. They're still very, very affordable compared to a lot of places outside of Florida. But Orlando's not the cheap place it was. Those prices are going up. And also one con is you got to start looking at the traffic and the toll roads. So all things to be considered. Now, if you're thinking about moving to Orlando, here's the truth. Your cost of living can vary a lot depending on where you choose to live, as I said. Some areas are significantly more affordable for various reasons, and others can double your monthly costs. So what I do for a lot of my clients is to help them compare areas. We break down the real monthly payments, and we find the best value for their budget. So if you're even thinking about moving to Orlando in 2026, reach out to me directly, call, text, or email, or you can grab my free Orlando relocation guide, which I put a link down below in the description. But I'll help you figure out exactly what it would cost you, not just the national averages. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again.